You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. So it begins again. Welcome back to CreepGeeks Podcast. This is episode 309, Season 8.
Bigfoot screams, Microsoft recall AI tool, Vatican supernatural update, attracting UFOs with radiation, and strange tornadoes.
Yeah. All right, so anyway, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And we're doing a Memorial Day / post-Memorial Day, depending on when you listen to it, podcast. Yeah. Got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today, mostly news-related. I'm having one of those days where I have supernatural hearing. I can hear everything.
You have
weird.
Supernatural hearing. I have supernatural allergies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so anyway, if this is your very first time tuning in to the podcast, I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And we talk about stuff we find to be interesting. Typically, it's paranormal, weird news, and some of our experiences that we've had and hope to have some more. But generally, it's just a fun place to hang out. And we have a way for you to communicate with us if you'd like. It's a toll-free number you can call.
And that phone number is going to be 575-208-4025.
That's right. And you can also hit us up on the internets. We're all over Facebook and Instagram and everywhere. Threads, TikTok, YouTube. If you want to just listen to the podcast, you don't have to use a devoted player. You can just hashtag listenable, press the button and do your yard work or whatever it is you're trying to do. We're good for that sort of thing. If you just need somebody to listen to for an hour, 47 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, we're it. It depends how motivated we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're a podcast. We basically broadcast paranormal news and share our strange experiences from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured I'd say that since we haven't said that in like 5 months, just in case somebody was looking. We have a couple different links in our show notes, and everything we talk about on the podcast is available on our website. If you go to creepgeeks.com, we have all the links there, so you can click and check it out if you want. It's almost like a... I don't know. It's a blog, man. Does anybody even use websites anymore? Some people do, but most people don't. But I mean, yeah, you can check it out there. We got all the stuff that we talk about, including there's a Amazon affiliate link. So if you're buying something off Amazon, since I just paid $148 to renew Prime, I figured I'd talk about it, right? If you want to buy something off Amazon and you're like, you know what, I'm going to use the Creep Geeks link, and that way they can get a small percentage. It doesn't affect my price at all, and then they can in turn, put it towards paying for Prime again. So I'm just constipated by it because it's not 2-day shipping anymore. For us, there's no go pick it up, right? There's none of that stuff, man. Yeah. It's like we're gonna take your product and we're gonna give it to the post office, and then you might get it 3 days, 4 days, sometimes 5 days later. When it's like, why am I even doing this? Walmart's faster.
Originally, Amazon was a great solution for people who lived in rural or middle of nowhere places because you could still get goods and items that
you can get it now. You're not going to get it with the Prime
now
shippings.
They've decided to cut costs, and those directly affect some of us more rural people. It's now no longer 2-day shipping.
Yeah, it's been that way for a while.
We've never had Amazon Instant like some of my friends do. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's not that those friends are better than us.
No. It's just those people live in different areas.
Well, they got it changed up now where it's like it ships in 2 days. And you're like, ooh. Yeah. It used to be delivered in 2 days. That is no longer the case. But anyway, I grumble on. Because it's annoying. It's like, oh, man, there's 5 days till a holiday. Let me go ahead and order this sweet cooling shirt. So, being a big fat guy, I can get it and wear it on our adventure. And guess what? Didn't show up, and it didn't really fit.
I literally have an event that will be taking place in the rain next week, and I won't get it until one day after that event.
You might as well just get a tarp and cut a hole in it.
Pretty much.
Call it a poncho.
Just Harbor Freight it, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it'd be good for as long as your event. That's about it.
Yeah.
So we have a couple different links we're going to talk about, and some of these are sort of refreshes from our previous podcast where we talked about Fate Magazine and coming by during the Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival.
Yeah.
I did put a link on the website to those guys, so I like Fate Magazine. You can check them out. They're one of the longest running publications when it comes to sci-fi, UFO, woo-woo, all sorts of weird stuff. It's 75 years covering the strange and unknown. But one thing I did want to put is I found a news link from a local news station somewhere in North Carolina that actually talked about the Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival.
Yeah.
And the reason why I got in here is because they use the term paranatural. And I haven't heard too many news outlets say that. I did find out later on, before the podcast, that you sent them the press release and you put paranatural in there.
I think I'm pretty sure because I also sent a press release to Paranormal News Daily, and both of them gleaned details about the event and incorporated it into their own write-ups.
Yeah. I mean, they got to I would like press release. It's already done. You just like drag and drop that thing right in there. Like, done. Let me mark that off my list of tasks to do. So we're going to play a little bit of it and, whatever, man. It's content.
Drew believers and skeptics from around the country. We're talking about the Bigfoot Festival. It was today in Marion. It's recognized as one of the largest paranormal or paranatural festivals on the East Coast. People got to hear from Bigfoot researchers and speakers and see a Bigfoot calling contest. I got to see that myself.
Yeah, that's pretty nice, right?
Yeah.
Bigfoot. So yeah, I thought I'd kind of put that in, and that came from WBTV.com off their website, and there's a link to that as well. So if you want to watch the video of the Bigfoot running around in costume and the sad singers in the background. It just sounded weird to me, like, here it comes. I think that's what it says. No. It couldn't really.
One thing, though, that I stressed in the press release and my marketing is this is the biggest one in North Carolina. And I wonder how many folks out there are like, well, let me outdo you now.
Probably 3.
Hey.
Just saying. Who knows?
That could happen.
It's possible. I mean, all things are possible, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to be optimistic. So I thought that was kind of neat. Wanted to go ahead and stick that in there. And also we have a couple different things we're going to talk about this relate to Bigfoot. And one of the things that I came across was a Bigfoot scream or series of screams that was recorded in 2012. They just seemed to pop up in 2024. And there's a neat little website that accompanies this audio clip that we're going to play, and then you should check it out because it lists like recordings via state, along with some other stuff. And I was like, man, this is pretty interesting. So I want to put that in there, so we can kind of check that out. It's pretty long, so we're not going to play the whole thing. We're going to play some interesting parts. But the thing about this is, I stuck this in here because I've been seeing some information about the Sierra sounds that happened in, I think it was 77, maybe something like that. And some people are saying they're fake. Some people, it goes back and forth with that. Same thing with like the whole, article you'll see that pops up every once in a while where Bob Gimlin and the whole Patty tape, the whole film, of Patty walking across, where they'll say that Bob Gimlin said it was a fake, and then you click on it and it's like, no, that's not at all. But 77 or something. I think it was 77. I can't remember.
Now 4 different websites. 2 say 1970, the other 2 say 1971.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So
see, when I was a little kid, I was born in 70.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 76 or 77. Bigfoot all of a sudden got really popular because there was a movie that came out and it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
But it sort of, ramped up from there, and the Sierra sounds magically showed up, but 5-6 years later. But you gotta remember back then in the past, man, a lot of this stuff none of this was instant.
Mm-hmm.
Like now you can go out in the woods and see something crazy like a tree bent over and instantly whip out your phone and record something and go, this tree wasn't like that yesterday. It's bent over pointing the way towards something else, right?
Yeah.
And you get sort of, instant sort of, it's out there, which is great, but it's also awful because anybody can do it.
Yeah.
So then you get all these door cam footages of things like cobwebs flying in the sky and spider webs and weird lights and orbs and people out in the woods going, what is that in the trees? That's Bigfoot, you know, and then lots of fakery and hoaxing, and it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
So you got to be on top of it. But this came out in 2012. It's a video clip, and I listened to it a couple different times. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. And it's interesting because it sounds like stuff we've heard before. So I don't actually know if this would be categorized for me as this is a Sasquatch, or I've heard this before.
Okay.
And it's just, you know, it didn't do anything for me, right? I wasn't like, what in the world is that? But then also, how would I know? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a Bigfoot expert.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard enough Bigfoot stuff to go, you know. So what if we've been hearing the stuff in the woods and maybe it is Bigfoot? You know, it makes you wonder, right? So what if stuff that we think is just whatever, that's just the way it is? You know, you're out in the woods and you're like, I'm not here all the time, so I'm not like a nature wildlife expert, but I hear this kind of thing and we're just like writing it off as being a normal thing. What if all that stuff really is Bigfoot, and there's like millions of instances where people are just unaware that the general weirdness they're hearing in the woods is not weird at all. It's paranatural.
Oh, okay.
There you go. And so it's just, yeah. So as soon as I can find it, I'm going to click on it, and then we'll play part of it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of long. And like I said, this website is rmsobigfoot.blogspot.com. And we have a link to it, and you can kind of scroll down. There is a language warning, so maybe I can catch it. So if you're offended by adult language, you'll be okay. I only say that in case kids are listening. So it's my goal to not play it, but I can't.
Okay.
I can't guarantee before dinner that I can catch it. So.
It's crazy.
Not a bear.
Yeah. That's no dog.
It's a bear.
I think he's a bear. I don't think so.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it gets to the point where they start using more colorful language. But, yeah, I don't.
See, to me.
See, and there is much more to this, but it's still sort of the same sort of, roaring rumble you hear off in the distance.
That sounded, though, to me like a pack of hunting dogs. It really did.
Okay. I didn't hear it that way necessarily. I heard one dog primarily sort of making noise, but, coyote packs are typically, for me, more high-pitched sort of noise.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. Nobody knows, really. But,
No.
I mean, it could be a 175-pound farm dog.
Yeah.
Those guys are huge. They sleep outside and protect the flock,
whatever
it is, whether it's ducks, goats, chickens, geese, other dogs, kittens, whatever. Because they bellow, they make noises, but it's just kind of like...
they don't call that much.
See, it goes on, right?
This is dogs right over there. Whatever it is over there. There's a bunch of them. They're talking. They're just communicating.
That's not
Yeah, there's one back there too, like earlier.
Yeah, that's not a dog bark.
You can hear the dog barking amongst these howls.
I'm sleeping in a cab.
She said, I'm sleeping in a cab.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like out camping, right?
Yeah.
Because the article's, this is dated January 30th, 2024, and it says family camping in tent trailer kept awake by Sierra Sasquatch screams. And they got a dog with them, and the dog doesn't look too excited to be there, but, I mean, a lot of
I
dogs.
wish we had tailgate.
As far as I know, I've never heard of a Sasquatch attacking anybody and killing them.
far as he knows.
How many Sasquatchies do they have in this area?
Omi's asking you.
He's not. Huh.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But, I mean, if I heard that, I would pay attention to it. I would record it, too. I'd pull out the old phone and hold it in the air like you're looking for a signal, the flashlight on, you know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about the area they were in, you know.
Yeah, well, I don't either.
It does sound like a lot of sound bouncing off of areas.
Now, here's the cool thing. The person that recorded this left a comment.
Yeah.
On the RMSO Bigfoot.blogspot site, right, where the video is, or where the video is embedded in a link to take you to YouTube. But it says, "This is my video, and we love that it's still very popular, but you got some facts wrong." Yeah. We were broken down for the night on the side of the road. So they weren't actually camping, I guess. But you know what? We broke down in the desert, and guess what we did?
Camped.
Yeah, we just called it camp. We're like, we're just going to camp here, right?
Yeah.
The video was filmed from the front of my pontoon boat, not tent trailer camping. It was scary and an awesome experience at the same time. I don't know why he felt it necessary to point out that it really wasn't a tent camping, that they were in their pontoon boat, but it was important to him, so I figured we'd put it in there. But that actually kind of got me thinking, you know, you could take an old pontoon boat and convert it into a camping type trailer action, right? I mean, because I've seen videos where people like put, you know, made like a little tiny cabin type thing on a pontoon boat, and so we're gonna, you know, live on the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of neat. We just wanted to put it in there since sort of continued talking a little bit about Bigfoot and WNC Bigfoot Festival, and the fact that somebody used the term paranatural.
That is cool.
Which I do like that. So, so speaking of privacy nightmare. I had to put this in here because, you know, we are Creep Geeks, and if it's something that I think that most people should probably pay attention to, I'll occasionally put it in there. Because a lot of stuff's just, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to put in this podcast because people were here mainly for Bigfoot stuff and ghost stuff or whatever, paranormal news and less cyber security type stuff. But Windows has a new tool that they're going to be adding to their operating system, Windows 11. It's called Recall AI.
Huh.
Right?
Yeah.
And Recall AI is nice. It's going to basically store the stuff that you've been looking at and typing on your computer and all of this stuff so that if you need to recall it, it can bring it right up for you.
Absolutely not.
And it can also use that to help generate responses for AI type stuff. I don't want that. I don't care how helpful it is, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a pretty lengthy sort of article, and a lot of like websites like Wired. I put a link to Wired.com. Talks about cybersecurity and instances where, you know, your car can get hacked and all this other stuff. Yeah. They got to scare you to get you into the part of the article that you're interested in, right? And so here's how it reads. Following the trend of tech companies in the AI race, throwing privacy and caution to the wind. That's these companies, right?
Yeah.
And so Microsoft unveiled plans this week to launch a tool on its forthcoming Copilot Plus PCs called Recall that takes screenshots of customers' computers every few seconds. And Microsoft says the tool is meant to give the ability, people the ability to find the content in seconds that you have viewed on your device. The company also claims to have a range of protections in place and says the images are only stored locally in an encrypted drive. Right? Oh, you should feel safe, right? But yeah, that response has been roundly negative nonetheless, and with some watchdogs reportedly calling it a possible privacy nightmare.
Yeah.
And the company notes that an intruder would need a password and a physical access to the device to view any of the screenshots. We should rule out the possibility of anyone with legal concerns over adopting the system. Ironically, Recall's description sounds eerily reminiscent of computer monitoring software the FBI has used in the past. Microsoft even acknowledges that the system takes no steps to redact passwords or financial information. So whatever is on the screen, it's going to have stored. And so what's going to happen when a company, or let's just say when the FBI or CIA says, hey, Microsoft, we need to take a look at this guy's computer and see what's in the recall. Mm-hmm. They're going to give it. They're going to like, sure, we don't care. Because what's the problem with one customer having an issue? It's all about scale, right? You got 1 billion customers. You don't care about one. You're like, all right, whatever, give it up. Sure. And so if they're not going to protect your passwords, banking account information or whatever, maybe you're somebody who's not that tech savvy and you're going to have someone, you're going to reach out to tech support. And most tech support these days seems like it's not in this country, and they're going to be able to see what's on your screen. I'm
starting to wonder if this is already built into Windows 11.
It's absolutely, I think it's built into everything. I think it's built into
and I say
Apple
that because,
stuff and Windows stuff.
So I had a photo shoot this week, and using a Windows 11 computer, I needed to upload all the files. And no matter what, Windows refused to let me, basically allocate the images in certain places. But I kept finding a section partitioned specifically for OneDrive, specifically for any user that was on my computer. And it gave me a hard time accessing certain partitions and sections on my computer. And I'm like, well, why is that happening? And then I get automatically Microsoft Copilot wants to know. And I'm like,
I will say this, Windows 11 and Copilot has taken my computer, which can edit 4K video, no problem, and images and all that sort of thing, and made it aggravatingly slow for a lot of things.
Now, I thought this article was going to be about how unhealthy AI is for not just the internet, but for us, because I know it's also going around in the news that AI, which we can now barely control, has started to generate its own inferences once you've generated an inference.
Yeah.
So your single inference can actually spawn or trigger an additional 1,000 to 1,200 inferences in order for it to improve itself.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, that 1,000 to 1,200 inferences are actually causing an additional 2.9 kilowatts per hour in usage, power usage. So,
well, I mean, if you go to Control, Delete, and hit Task Manager, you'll see all sorts of stuff just burning up all your RAM while you're trying to do stuff.
Now, what's weird is, okay, so if, that's like 2.9 kilowatts per 1,000 inferences, it's costing us more power and energy to generate AI than it costs us to charge our phones. Our phones only cost 0.012 kilowatts per hour.
Yeah, because it's working and thinking and running all the time. There used to be, I think they maybe stopped it, or maybe it's changed names or whatever, but SETI used to have a little program you could run that while your computer was not being actively used by you, it would process data in space. I'm like, I'm going to do my part.
Yeah.
And that thing, man, would just, I finally had to say, no, you're burning up my bandwidth, but you're also just, my computer would be like a toaster oven. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, this thing's very warm.
Yeah.
It's just crunching numbers from space the whole time. I get it, the whole idea of distributed computing so that you could take a task and then like have it work through 100 different computers or whatever. But
then going back to what you were saying, like, okay, if I'm utilizing AI in a certain way, and I'm just horrible at it. I'm typing something like, write me a recipe for strawberries and cake. And I mess it all up. I have typos in the word strawberry, what have you. AI is now at the point where it's going to generate at least 1,200 different inferences with the various correct and incorrect spellings of strawberry. So that could be hundreds of groups of inferences that are now going to be stored on this recall thing.
Yeah, well, that, and the part of the problem is that I have is privacy concerns.
Yeah.
What's it going to do with the screen captures that it takes and says, well, let me look at this to make sure I can bring you back the information in an instant, but I also have Copilot installed, and it's going to be like, let me see what he's doing so I can be faster. I really think the whole idea is incorporate and blend AIs into the operating system so that you don't need a search engine. And if you don't need a search engine, like actually leave, like run off into a browser and go to Chrome or whatever, right?
Yeah.
If you don't need that search engine that to do your search requests, it can be built right into the computer. It's an integrated experience, true, but they can also turn around and they get all the money for the ads and stuff that gets seen as part of what's actually, you know what I'm saying? So all the seller information that you provide, whether you like it or not, through cookies and everything else, all right there, all baked into your computer.
Yeah.
And, advertisers pay top dollar for that. If you really want to find out about somebody, you don't have to like stalk them on the internet. You just find their buying habits. You can tell everything. It's big money.
Yeah.
And since it's big money, if you can keep everything in-house and you're not reaching out to the internet to go through a browser or whatever, then you don't need Google. You don't need any other browser to do your thing. It's all in the operating system. And what the thing is that people are just going to agree to it because they don't want to be bothered with the whole thing. I don't want screen captures on my computer.
Yeah.
I want to milk my computer for as long as I can before we have to buy more computers. So that's extra storage space, it's processing power, and on top of that, who's going to control the privacy aspect of it? Yeah. Now, they do say that you're going to be able to tell it what you want to keep, how much you want to keep, and if you want to use it at all. And that may be the way it starts out. It eventually gets baked into the point where, whether you like it or not, you got Internet Explorer built into your computer. And it's going to take like the European Union to sue them to take it out. And then what they do now is they just baked in the other one, Edge. Edge is a turd, and it slows my computer down.
Yeah. Because
Edge is all part of Copilot now. And you got Google, has baked in Gemini. So there's a bunch of AIs, and it's not going away.
No.
They don't care. And they're not going to. It's going to be in the next 3 to 5 years, all computers they'll have an AI built right into it. So, kids these days, the youngsters, they're not going to know any different.
They're not.
So, it's a thing. I do suggest, though, if you don't want screen captures of what you've been looking at stored on your computer, whether you like it or not, or where you care or not, I would turn that stuff off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will turn it off. Because I used to be able to edit 4K. Now it's like, oh, wait, come on. It's like, what is this going, bugs me. It's like, why is my computer so slow? Oh, I got Chrome and Copilot burning up everything on my computer using all my freaking RAM.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of RAM. It just angers me.
I'm sorry.
So speaking of Vatican,
okay.
Vatican has updated its supernatural phenomenon guidelines.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Well, I didn't either. I knew that they had some guidelines because they can't just go around conducting exorcists on anybody who asks. I'm sure there's a criteria involved. You know what I mean? Because, think about things like mental illness, right? If somebody's got a mental illness, maybe to me, that person is possessed. But maybe they have maybe they're not possessed, right? Maybe there's a reason behind it. So there has to be some sort of guidelines to determine if somebody's possessed or not.
Yeah.
Just to use that as an example. So the Vatican has tightened up its guidance on recognizing supernatural phenomena.
Okay.
And this also includes like seeing apparitions, like the Virgin Mary, stuff like that. The new guidelines will replace the rules that have been drawn up in 1978 and say that bishops should no longer act independently over such sightings, but instead should go ahead and consult the Vatican. So now they got to call on support. They got to call on the Vatican, get some operator, and say, hey, I think somebody has seen the Virgin Mary on a potato chip. I need to know if I can call this a sighting or not. Is this, a holy phenomena, or what is this exactly?
Yeah.
And they're going to go, well, hold on, let me check. And they're going to look in their little book or whatever, their little resource online. They're going to check their PeopleSource information and see what it says, right? So according to the document released by the Vatican on Friday, the new procedure will allow for faster decisions while respecting popular devotion. So when it comes to basically assessing claims of supernatural phenomena, like, and this can include things like stigmata and other purported miracles, they'll have an easier way, a more, I guess, church-approved way to make that determination. So, because under the previous guidelines, a local bishop could rapidly declare a phenomenon of supernatural nature. And now they're saying that only for the Holy Office should they be allowed to express a different decision later, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, we had those 2 cases, granted, I don't think they were sanctioned, about a month and a half ago that involved exorcisms and unfortunately resulted in deaths.
Yeah.
And the way the article reads on at least one of them, it seemed as though, well, they escalated the case, but they didn't escalate it as high up as this would indicate.
Yeah, and what they're not saying in this article is this goes beyond like declaring apparitions and events as being it gets into like exorcism and things like that.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of crazy. I mean, it's good. I mean, we're coming up on, it's 1978 is when the last time we really looked at it.
Yeah.
It's 2024. And, it's about time, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but now they got to reach out, and plus they want to make sure that they're looking at things like the pursuit of profit, power, fame, social recognition, and other personal interests, which may harm the faithful, potentially even to the extent of exerting control over people while carrying out those abuses. Because there's people who say, "Oh man, hey, Virgin Mary was here," and start selling stuff and everything else, and they're worried about the devout being taken advantage of. So that's good. So I wonder if that's actually what brought more about a change than, because they kind of, any news is good news, right?
Yeah.
Any press is good press.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So does that mean that they're going to have like official Vatican sanctioned, or, hey, you got to have like a little Vatican hologram sticker on a statue of Virgin Mary next to, a place that may have like, an apparition or supernatural or paranatural, whatever.
That'd be kind
like
of
an event.
That would be kind of cool, though.
What, they have a Vatican certified?
Yeah.
Like this is official.
Yeah.
Vatican souvenirs.
Yeah.
I was going to say tchotchkes. Yeah. Well, all that stuff is sold, and why not? We'll see, I guess. Just something I thought you might want to be aware of. And I'm not, being hard with it or anything, or trying to be critical. I like the idea that they're implementing some kind of change to reflect more modernistic things, it goes back to somebody selling holy water on, this was, these are tears, right?
Yeah.
Holy tears that, you can have these tears for $1 million and somebody's going to buy them. Because the idea of that, you see it on TV, like with the televangelists and stuff. Put your hands on the screen and give me $1,000 and I'll heal you. I hate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And people do it. A lot of them are, it's desperate.
I'm going to send you this very special prayer cloth thing, or, that's.
Yeah. I've never been.
Yeah.
When you see a preacher come rolling up and they're driving an $80,000 car and you're pulling up in your Toyota Camry. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I have a problem with that. I've seen that where churches make these millions and millions of dollars and fly around the world and stuff. And it's like, why does a preacher need a Learjet?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I look at it. But yeah, so maybe the Vatican can get a good handle on it and put things where they need to be in perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
So under the section we've titled, "What Can Go Wrong?" And these are some questions I have. How much radioactive material is involved? Who secures it? And what are the qualifications?
Okay.
And this is related to an article basically titled, "Scientists Reveal Plan to Attract UFOs to Earth with New Handheld Nuclear Reactor."
Handheld?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's...
Well, you can make it handheld. They have like radioactive batteries and stuff that, they put in satellites and stuff been flying around.
Yeah.
But the idea of somebody walking around with a handheld nuclear reactor to attract UFOs, it gives me some pause.
Yeah.
But it's okay, though. These are scientists.
Okay.
Yeah. So, this professor of physics, Kevin Knuth, at the university at Albany, U.S., right, claims the experimental idea is already being created as boffins ramp up efforts to bring extraterrestrial beings to our planet. And this is from the irishstar.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Scientists are developing compact, handheld nuclear reactors in an attempt to attract aliens to Earth.
All right.
Yeah. And they're saying that the experimental concept is already under construction as scientists intensify their efforts to bring extraterrestrials to our planet. First off, who asked them to? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, should we really be doing that? I don't like the idea of us just like sending out a general, hey man, come on in. Door's open. Message that we've been sending out in space forever.
Yeah.
You know, and sending out like all of our details out there. Because look, oh, the scientists are doing it. It's for the good of all mankind. Because you know who's going to come?
Who?
It's like having a party at your house. You're like, come on in, man. It's an open party. You're going to have lots of amazing people. It's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have the ones you don't want there.
Yeah.
The ones that are stealing all your stuff. You know, maybe destroying your property. You know what I mean? Like the bad guys. So you can't, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have.
Yeah.
Facts of life, right? I mean, who wants all that, right? So in a plan that seems foolproof, Professor Knuth informed an audience that patents are already being filed for these mini handheld nuclear devices. We're trying to figure out how we can lure UFOs to basically the planet and how to make them how to make contact. So we settled on the fact that UFOs have an interest in and an ability to detect nuclear weapons, some of them underground and some of them in bunkers or storage depots. And how do they do this? By detecting nuclear energy. And that makes sense because there's been incidents of UFOs hanging around silos.
Yeah.
You know, places where they can draw energy, I guess is the idea. And there's been, you know, people saying, oh, there's giant UFOs by the sun just sucking up all the nuclear energy and all that stuff, right?
But yeah, they've also said that though, like you're saying, like near nuclear power plants. Isn't there a power plant next to West Virginia? Like
well, allegedly we didn't have hardly any activity at all until nuclear bombs got blowed up. And are they using neutrinos, which are really hard to detect, or gamma rays? We don't know. Yeah. But my colleagues has developed a new technology, which is basically a handheld lithium-powered nuclear fission reactor, which he is now patenting. And the idea is to go out and power our UFO observing equipment with the nuclear reaction. And maybe these guys will detect it and come down and find out what those crazy monkeys are up to this time.
Oh. And
we can get some imagery or some data. That's our plan. So the plan is we're going to fire up this nuclear device, hope somebody shows up, and that's it. They're going to see what happens after that, right? Yeah. And there's a video clip, which I'm not going to play. It's basically recorded at the Soul Foundation in California. And the expert didn't elaborate. So even in the video where he's trying to pump it out and say, hey, here's what we're going to do, because, you know, you need donations and things like that, it still didn't say how they were going to do, what the actual plan is.
Yeah.
What's your contingency if you bring something to Earth? What are you going to do? It reminds me of Independence Day, right, where you got the people standing on the rooftop and they're like, you know, come on down, welcome in. And then the laser beam or plasma beam or whatever it is just blows the whole planet or blows the whole building up. So, yeah.
I don't know. I would like a more fleshed out plan, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
The concept of using the nuclear reaction to search for aliens isn't entirely new.
Yeah.
Notably renowned expert Avi Loeb has used it in his quest to find UFOs during last year's Galileo project. How is this being allowed?
I think because there's so much doubt. I think because there's doubt that we will ever initiate like actual contact.
Well, I don't want just handheld nuclear reactors.
Okay.
Right? Even if they're patented or whatever. Right? Because like I said in the beginning, I have questions. Just the basics. How much radioactive material is going to be in these devices? Because what if a company makes 1,000 of them, right? So they can give them to scientists or sell them to scientists or whatever. What if somebody steals 1,000 and basically turns around and gets all the radioactive material out of it? If it's fissionable material, you can make a dirty bomb.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to, I mean, all right, so you can make a bomb, right? Uh-huh. Who's going to be in charge of it to keep it locked up, safe, and secure from somebody who may want to take it?
I don't know why this flashed in my head, but it's the same thought of like when you go to Walmart and buy Rust-Oleum and they have to take your ID now. That ridiculous thought came through my head.
Yeah, but at least there's, I mean, if you can't buy paint, why are these guys going to be allowed to run around with this?
Yeah.
And so, and what are going to be the qualifications? This is an instance where maybe the government should really be keeping an eye on this.
Yeah.
Because what happens if it goes wrong? What if it's a poor design and they drop it and it just basically contaminates something? What if it blows up on its own? Because they're going to take a lithium battery, which we've seen those things blow up.
Yeah.
Setting people's pants pockets on fire. Right?
Vapes setting entire cars on fire.
Yeah, vapes setting cars. Just lithium batteries in general. They're doing an overrun situation or overcharge situation where they eventually just catch on fire. And it's a lithium fire.
Yeah.
Let's throw some nuclear stuff in there. Maybe it's not, because I would think, and people are probably going to say, well, there's probably not a lot of nuclear material in there. It doesn't take a lot.
No.
It doesn't. And that's part of it, right? It's a pretty compact thing. So what happens if you set it on fire in a lithium-based fire and it just spreads?
Oh.
Like in the atmosphere. Dirty bombs. That's what a dirty bomb does. A dirty bomb doesn't blow up and just destroy a bunch of stuff. It puts it in the air. So the fallout becomes like where you're, effectively poisoning what's going on. So it can be in the dirt. And then you know what happens? You go cruising through the desert, for example.
Yeah.
Your test sites where they've blown things up, you kick the sand up, and what happens? It just comes back to life for a while until it settles back down again. So dirty bombs are just dirty. That's why they call them dirty bombs. They're not like you get incinerated right away. You have long-term effects of that sort of thing. I just don't know. I kind of think for stuff like this that somebody should step in and say, hey, that's a great idea. Let's table that until we can figure out a better way to do it.
Yeah. That would be smart.
Because where are they going to get the stuff from, too? How are they going to get the nuclear material? You can't just go out and buy that stuff.
No.
I just see problems with this. So maybe somebody's just waiting until they go, okay, so they because filing a patent and actually creating are two different things, right?
I'm sure at this time, the nuclear material that is in question is probably regulated. But then to take it a step further and start making these devices, the devices should be regulated as well. As much as I don't like people regulating what I buy, I mean, in this instance, I'm like, yeah.
Scientists do stuff in the name of science.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it gets allowed, right? That's fine. But certain things, somebody should step in and go, hey, this Hadron Collider thing, where it basically blew up, we destroyed our existence, and now we're in an alternate parallel universe where Berenstein Bears are spelled incorrectly and the Sinbad tape didn't actually exist. Maybe we should watch that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that, out of all of it, what's worse? AI is worse.
True.
For sure, AI is worse. And I actually think that AI is already much, much worse than we actually think. So maybe that's why they're building all these bunkers, these rich folks. They're not building them to get away from fallout, stuff like that. They're getting them away from everybody else, including the AI overlords. They're going to be, what's that thing? Skynet,
yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's just something wrong with that. I have questions, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of something wrong, there's something wrong with our tornadoes.
Really?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting because we've been experiencing some weather.
Yeah. We actually had a tornado a couple weeks ago hit north of us.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I'm like, well, this is interesting. Let's figure out why. And, and we do get tornadoes here occasionally. At least one or two, like in Tennessee gets them and stuff like that. And they do happen. But the problem with this is that it seems to be happening with a much more alarming frequency.
And it was funny because during the Bigfoot Festival, we had a big storm.
Yes.
And, I guess everybody's phones went off at the same time about imminent flash floods, severe lightning. Everybody's phones were going off at once. And some of the younger kids, and by younger kids, I mean all the way up to young adults, were like, what was that, a tornado warning? We never get tornadoes out here. And I clearly remember.
Yeah, we do.
2 weeks ago.
You used to get them in Virginia, too.
And then, my sister-in-law tells a story about her mom actually being in college, and there was a really bad tornado out here.
Yeah.
And they had to seek shelter, So they do happen out here, and when they do, it is pretty significant.
Yes. And according to the BBC, of their science-focused website, there's a link to that as well, something very strange is happening to tornadoes across the U.S., and scientists are baffled. So as El Nino weakens, tornadoes are cropping up in some unexpected places.
Yeah.
Because we kind of know where some of these mostly occur, because there used to be television shows and stuff, Storm Chasers and all that. They run through Tornado Alley and, getting the data and information, right? Using stuff like the Dominator and Dominator 3 and all of that with that guy, what's his name? Reed Timmons I think it's Timmons. Anyway. Who used to be a weather guy, but then he decided to fight tornadoes. I'm pretty sure it's Reed Timmons, because I think he does have a Dominator 3.
I was thinking of when they send Jim Cantor out.
No, that guy's a fake. Reed's the real deal. And he's loud, though. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the clips. He's just screaming the whole time. It's coming, guys! Yeah, all that. Every year, there's an average of 1,200 tornadoes reported in the U.S., and while they can strike at any time and any place, most regular and violent activity strikes the central and southern states in the period roughly between March and June tornado season. You're going to say something.
No, I was just remembering Andy Fox. I am past perpendicular.
Yeah. I'm perpendicular. It's like, come on, man.
Because he was leaning into a storm.
Extreme weather. Yeah. In the Outer Banks. Yeah. I'm going perpendicular. So yet in the first months of 2024, there's been a strange and devastating uptick in twister occurrences. Yeah. So in April, there was more than 100 tornadoes in the U.S. in just 1 week.
Oh.
Over 100. And this is according to the National Centers for Environmental Information. A total of 384 were reported throughout the month.
Wow.
It just seems like a lot. And that's more than double the year-on-year average.
Yeah.
The average is like 150-something. They got like 300. It's double. That's strange, right? And more than just numbers, the storms destroy homes in Oklahoma, dozens of homes, right? Nebraska, Iowa, and South.
The tornado states, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially violent storm left four people dead, but thousands without power. But, in the past few weeks, the tornadoes have been wreaking havoc in unexpected places. Tornadoes in Nebraska and Iowa are much further north and east in the country that's expected for April. Huh. And when tornadoes are usually concentrated in the south, it's where they expect to see them, but now they're showing up in the north. Wisconsin had its first ever February tornado.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's causing these dangerous changes in tornado activity? Well, they don't really know.
Yeah.
And they explain how tornadoes are created and all that stuff, but we're not going to talk about that because anyway, but it does say that El Nino, which is the warming of the surface waters of the eastern Pacific Ocean, occurring irregularly every 2 to 7 years is the average, right? Yeah. But this disrupts the normal weather patterns and changes around the world, and it brings drought to some areas and flooding to others and that sort of thing, right? And it's been associated with warmer global temperatures. And they're saying, which is why, in concurrence with human-caused climate change, we've seen record-smashing temperatures year on year. And they're thinking that because of these weather changes and warmer temperatures and stuff, it's creating more tornadoes.
Yeah.
But they need more data because they can't definitively attribute the change in tornado patterns to the shift in El Nino from normal atmospheric conditions. So in other words, they don't know, but they're just saying, it's warmer.
Yeah.
El Nino. There you go. Humans did it. So
I do think it's interesting because, they do try to say, what does this mean for people living in tornado-prone areas, The best they can say is that, thankfully, forecasters are getting better at forecasting tornado-like events, and when the conditions for tornado formation are ideal, they're hoping to get the word out sooner. So that's good.
yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, I get all that, and that's wonderful. But if you only got like a minute, or if it happens at 2:30 in the morning when you're sleeping or whatever.
And see, similar things could be said, though. People used to make complaints in the 90s, people who lived at the Outer Banks or along the coast of South Carolina. Why do you continue living there when a hurricane's going to wipe out your house every year type thing?
Yeah, I'm more scared of a tornado than a hurricane.
thing is, though, hurricanes can spit out tornadoes because of the sheer
Yeah, they
volume.
usually do.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
in minutes, complete destruction.
True.
So, I don't know.
I do think it's interesting, though, because this is 2024, year of the tornado? Hopefully not. Last year, it was earthquakes. We kept talking about the increase in earthquakes in strange areas.
Yeah. Well, we're still having them in
yeah.
local to us,
Such as
South Carolina. And
the Blue Ridge Mountains, or all the way up north, in the Northeast. Earthquakes aren't supposed to be common in these regions, and we've actually had an increase in them. And now we're having an increase in tornadoes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Historically, the area centering states like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, known as Tornado Alley, is where the most dramatic activity takes place. And as these parts dry out due to climate change, however, larger numbers of twisters are forming in the southeastern regions.
Huh.
So they're saying that, they're going to shift. So if you historically lived outside of Tornado Alley, there's a chance that in the next years, long time span, that you may be the new Tornado Alley. So if I lived in an area like that and could get an idea where these things might be shifting to, and now would be the time to go ahead and get you one of them tornado cellar things.
Yeah.
Before they become real expensive. The best time to buy a generator is before the hurricane. You get a generator for $175, but during the hurricane or right after, that thing's there. They definitely mark the prices up, just like they do with the prices of umbrellas and stuff like that, right? So the price of the 175 generator becomes $700.
So we have an old coworker, mutual friend on Facebook, and I guess there was a really bad hurricane about 2 years ago happening off coastal Virginia, and he actually noted, because he had bought a generator off season, and he had spent about $650 on it because it was a big one. That same generator, he wanted to hook up another friend, and they went shopping for it because, unfortunately, weather forecasters said 3 days out there was a hurricane coming. That generator went from $649 to over $1,000.
Yes.
Yeah. Because so maybe not right before a hurricane, maybe a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah, months before.
So
let me give you another less dangerous example. Bought a window air conditioner.
Yeah.
When our air conditioner broke, right?
Yeah.
Paid $200-something for it.
Gosh. Yeah.
In December.
Yeah.
That air conditioner was $57.
Yeah.
So, there you go. So if you're thinking about doing something like that, probably go ahead and get it when the off season occurs.
Yeah.
The best time to buy a generator is when you don't need one. The best time to buy an air conditioner is in December when you don't need it, because they don't need it either, and just becomes sitting there. Get one off Amazon for $50.
Yeah.
Or wherever. Excuse me. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm over here choking on my own
I'm sorry. Maybe.
spit. So let's talk about some lovesick animal news.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's the time of year where we put animal stuff in podcast because it becomes more, spring and it gets in the summer and all that.
Okay.
I only put this in here because of the title.
The title is worth it, and that is Lovesick Monkey Goes on Whiskey-Fueled Rampage Through Russian Village.
It's better if you say rampage.
Rampage.
Makes it more
through
dramatic.
Russian Village, and I'm pretty sure that is a country song just waiting to happen.
Yeah.
This is by Tim Banal. Residents of a village in Russia were forced to take cover when a pet monkey went on a whiskey-fueled rampage, believed to have been brought about by his owner getting married. The bizarre incident reportedly occurred last Friday in the community of Miliki, when, in what was undoubtedly a decision that he later regretted, the husband of the animal's owner released the surly simian, named Garrick, from his cage. Upon finding freedom, the monkey made a beeline for a bottle of whiskey and, after drinking some of the booze, set off to wreak havoc in the village. Rampaging through the streets of Miliki, Garrick proceeded to bite 5 different individuals who were unfortunate enough to encounter the drunk monkey during his troublesome travels. Along the way, the pugnacious primate picked up a variety of snacks to keep his ferocious energy up. However, this proved to be Garrick's undoing as a group of villagers cleverly distracted the creature with some sugar cookies and subsequently captured him.
And, I wonder how many drunk friends have been subdued by sugary treats. Come on, man. Here's some cookies. You want some Taco Bell? Okay, man. You're just putting it into a bad situation with a little food, right?
Yeah. The misadventure led to the monkey being sent to a nearby zoo since its owner was deemed incapable of caring for the creature.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, your monkey got out. Now we're going to put your monkey in jail.
Well, the husband's the one who released it. So, yeah.
Maybe he didn't want that monkey. Maybe, okay, because I'm sure the monkey wasn't very nice.
Probably not.
To the dude.
Yeah.
So he's like, oops, the cage got open. The monkey's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, he's biting his friends, right?
This development is likely to be particularly heartbreaking for Garrick, as in what may be the weirdest aspect of an already strange story. The animal's rampage is actually believed to have been born out of jealousy. Specifically, his owner said, the creature has been acting increasingly aggressive ever since she got married a couple years ago. As such, it has been suggested that Friday's incident was somehow a misguided "it's him or me" ultimatum from the monkey. And for that lovesick simian, it backfired spectacularly, as he will now probably never see his owner again.
That's right. He's in jail. We call it zoos.
That's so
They're going to put him in a zoo where he's going to have other friends who probably are not going to put up with his attitude. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's kind of sad. But.
Oh, wow. And at the end of this, I guess AI is paying attention to what we're talking about. The bottom of this article, watch, woman sucked out of building while filming a tornado in Arkansas. I'll provide a link in the show notes.
Well, I mean, it just...
That's bad.
A selfie's not worth it.
Yeah.
A selfie, getting a close-up shot with you and a bison or a big animal is not worth you being flipped across the road. And, getting close to a tornado is not cool when you're going to get sucked out the freaking window.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do the smart thing and seek cover. Protect yourself. And monkeys probably shouldn't be pets because they're smarter than most animals. Especially if you're jealous, I guess.
Yeah.
So, that's about all I got.
Yeah.
Pretty old podcast. I figured, But it reminded me, I couldn't find the title of the article where it's like, pig gets drunk, drinks a 12-pack, and fights with a cow or something like that.
Yeah.
And this was like at a campground. And it was one of my favorite titles, because I could never really find... The article itself was kind of boring. It just basically said this pig got drunk and started running around picking fights with other animals. Yeah. But it was the title is what drugged me in. And this lovesick monkey goes on whiskey-fueled rampage. Right? Through the Russian village. I'm like, I got to put this in here. So.
Well, that's like, there's been some updates from various Forest Service entities about, since us humans are doing a good job at not like taking things out of the forest that don't belong to us, there's like certain fruit trees along the Great Smoky Mountains and the Blue Ridge that the fruit is dropping to the ground and ripening. So the squirrels...
Fermenting.
Yeah, fermenting. So the squirrels are eating it, and then the squirrels are getting all wily, and so are the elk and stuff.
I mean, but that's kind of a...
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
Kind of a bonus there, like if you do go to the Smoky Mountains or Blue Ridge Mountains or Blue Ridge Parkway and see these deer, elk, or squirrels acting funny, it's because of fermented fruit on the ground. So
the gist of the article was, pig steals 18 beers from campers, gets drunk, and starts fights with a cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny. But it's a story that's happened. It happened a while ago, but yeah. Kind of is what it is, I guess. Know what I mean? Jelly bean. I didn't want to play that song. Remember last podcast I started to play a part of that song, had permission and everything? That's the one I was fighting with.
Yeah.
So I got the license and everything for it and still got hit for copyright. It's like, come on, man.
You need to send one of our listeners that visited this week. He loves that song. So he wanted to know the details for it.
Which one? The one I played?
Yeah.
I'm not going to play it again. I'll put a link. I have to find it. I'll put a link to the title and everything in the show notes. It reminded me of UFO Phil.
Yeah.
Which Art Bell used to play, and then I think Nori started playing, and it's on Coast to Coast and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was more. What if it is UFO Phil? I don't think it's UFO Phil, because UFO Phil is popular enough to where that would have been evident. So I don't know. Anyway, all right. I do appreciate you taking time to listen to the podcast. This was episode 309, season 8 of the CreepGeeks Podcast. Bigfoot screams, Microsoft recall AI tool, Vatican supernatural update, tracking UFOs with radiation, and strange tornadoes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit us up. You can follow us on all the good stuff. If you want to buy something off Amazon and use our link, we can pay for that. I don't know if I'm going to do that next year. It seems like a lot of money for more and more aggravation.
Yeah.
Anyway, is what it is. So, see you later. Take it easy. Happy birthday, Dave. Bye-bye.